I want to seize the opportunity to wish all the Muslim Ummas happy Salah in advance, because we're in a festive mood now, or period. And then coming back to the subject at hand, the economic indices and indicators showed clearly that Nigeria couldn't have survived, the Nigerian economy couldn't have survived if or had the fuel subsidy regime continued. And also if we continue with the foreign exchange regime that was in place. These form the base or the foundation of the twin policies, major economic policies of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, which is the fuel subsidy removal and also the floating of the Naira. Before now, we practically borrow money, humongous sums of money, to sustain the fuel subsidy. But right now, as it stands, and like we all know, not only that the nation has saved monies which will have ended up in the hands of few individuals in the society at the detriment of the vast majority of Nigerians. Now that money has been saved because the fuel subsidy regime was fraught with lots of underhand dealings.
And I hear you clearly, comrade. Pardon me to butt in, because this is a narrative that Nigerians are well acquainted to. We heard Mr. President speak on the second-year anniversary, also rehashing this concept. But what critics say is that the economic hardship is more widespread than anticipated. So I'm wondering if perhaps you have an honest opinion about what Nigerians actually go through. When should Nigerians also expect the kind of relief that this administration has promised?
Well, like you mentioned, my description of what is happening to the Nigerian economy is undergoing a necessary, but painful surgery. And once anyone goes under the blade, you know that you don't expect, to heal without pains.
It's midterm, by the way. It's midterm. When can we begin to recover? Because it's just 2 more years to the end of this tenure, right?
Well, once it becomes inevitable that this surgery be conducted, because most of the major presidential candidates of the opposition parties were committed to also removing fuel subsidy. So either ways, even if it was someone else who came, not President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they still will have removed the subsidy. But the effect, the aftermath effect or the attendant effect is what we're talking right now, how to cushion the effects of this policy. Well, basically, the president has proven that he's not in office for politics as usual, but in office, to rescue the Nigerian economy and also restructure the nation's governance framework. And he's shown his commitment to it. His actions, he has released or directed the release of humongous sums of funds and resources to government at sub-levels or sub-regional levels that ought to complement the good work the federal government is doing. But basically, my concern here is the firmness of purpose and the direction the policy of this administration has. If you are undergoing pains for the initiation of certain policies, then you must have an incentive for enduring the pains. And that is where we have been calling on the patience of Nigeria, because we know and we feel it. We also go to the market and we know exactly what the market is saying. But against the protective policy of the Buhari administration, in trying to protect local producers, it became necessary for the Tinubu administration to think outside the box by liberalizing our economy. And now you can see initially the inflationary gap was so high, but gradually the prices of commodities are dropping through this policy initiative. So now it is left for the other governmental structure in Nigeria, like the governors and the local government authorities, to also key into this renewed hope agenda to cushion the effects of this twin policy.
Indeed.
Definitely, we shall stabilize, and there's light in the end of the tunnel for the policies the president has initiated. And we must, commend him for his boldness.
Comrade, talking about these other agencies of government and even subnationals, quite a number of them have also spoken to the fact that, yes, they have more money, no doubt, but the value has significantly decreased because of the impact of inflation. But let's move on because of our time. You have described the emerging anti-Tinubu alliance. You called it a conclave of expired, ideologically bankrupt politicians. Who are you referring to exactly?
Well, for everyone watching or following the political developments in the country, especially the coalition, the so-called anti-Tinubu coalition ahead of 2027 elections. We see some very disgruntled elements amongst the coalition. Ordinarily, they wouldn't be there if they have a space in this government. And I think the space is just so slim that it can't accommodate everyone. We're all politicians and we get our own fair share of the neglects from government. But for the sake of the progress and prosperity of this country, haven't seen someone who has proven his mettle, someone who had for more than 2 decades prepared himself to lead this nation and has shown that he has a clear-cut policy trust to advance the cause of this nation. I mean, it calls for all hands to be on deck to support him until the end of the administration.
But what they are saying, comrade, some in the coalition argue that they are speaking for suffering Nigerians, and this has nothing to do with personal ambition. How do you differentiate between genuine opposition and political opportunism? What have you seen?
Well, we shouldn't only be politicians for self-serving purpose only or protecting our interests. Sometimes we should tell the people the truth so that they can live with the reality of the times, and that is how we can build a build a foundation of our economy in this country. But deceiving the people will not take us anywhere. Even if those people who are talking about the suffering of the people were the ones in there, same thing they will have done. I would have expected, the coalition, discuss or chart a course for Nigerians outside differently from what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing. Okay. That would be a bit of hopeful and assuring for the citizens. But I mean, talking about suffering, we've said it time without number and over, that these are the attendant effects of the policy, the twin policy of this administration, which was necessary, to keep the Nigerian economy afloat. And the benefits are huge, and it lies ahead. I think they ought to be, talking to the players, particularly the governors, the members of the National Assembly, the local government authorities that are in possession of these funds and resources on how to develop, complement the effort of the federal government. The responsibility of the federal government is to give a policy direction, which Mr. President has done and committed the funds to it. So they wouldn't expect Mr. President to go down at the state level to begin to govern the state for the governors. Okay. The governors have gotten allocation more than they've ever gotten under the Tinubu administration. So it is for them to initiate policies that will be in tandem with the Renew Hope agenda so that they can ameliorate the suffering of the masses, particularly citizens of their states. Once they put these funds into judicious use, of course, we all know that spending is part of the fiscal policy of any government. So if government has increased its funding, it's just so that it can create jobs in the informal sector where the mass of the Nigerian or the populace, are found. So it is left for the governors to be creative, I think outside the box, and initiate policies also at state level that can lead to the creation of jobs so that this money...
Hold that thought for a minute, comrade.
And of course...
Hold that thought for a minute. Let us take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, everyone. Comrade Daniel Onjeh, thank you for staying the course on the program this evening. There's talk that those who didn't get anything from this government are perhaps the loudest critics today. Can you speak candidly about your own ambitions, disappointments, and what drives your current advocacy? Because you wanted to be senator twice, right? And the last time I checked, I'm not sure you've gotten an appointment yourself under this administration. So they say there are two motivations for members of the APC these days. It's either they are pushed out because they don't get positions, or they keep advocating in trust that something is going to come someday.
Well, we mustn't win always. Under the Buhari administration, after the elections, even though I was robbed of my mandate when I was in contest against the former Senate President, Senator David Mark, in 2015, that ended up in a rerun election in 2016. The Buhari appointed me as a board chairman of the Project Development Institute, PRODA. And now I haven't gotten any appointment, but nonetheless, I'm a patriotic citizen, and it is my duty to support the government, particularly the ruling government of the ruling party that I belong to succeed, regardless of whether I get an appointment or not. So I've been playing my role since the elections and after the tribunals. I've been playing my role, lending my voice to supporting the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I've seen instances where people who fought us back home demonized the Muslim ticket. Me, particularly, I was the first to go on national television from the North Central as a candidate, to endorse the Muslim ticket, because I believe that Nigerians ought to break the jinx of religious and tribal politics, at least for the first time, against the propaganda and rumor that it was an agenda to Islamize Nigeria. It's very clear to Nigerians now that nobody has such an ulterior motive, to Islamize the country. So that had been achieved, and I supported the government during the campaign. I met stiff resistance and opposition on ground in Benue South, because most of the religious leaders and the clergymen, seem to have made up their minds about or against the Muslim ticket. So the Labour Party candidate, even though he won the presidential election slightly or narrowly there, I defeated the candidate of the Labour Party, candidate of the Labour Party, and of course also won the election. But a lot of people know what happened, but the rest is history. That is to say that we mobilized vote for the president. But those who demonize the Muslim ticket from Benue South, especially from the opposition party of PDP and other parties in the state, are benefited under this administration. They've gotten federal appointments, and we are still not deterred. So in same vein, I'm calling on the disgruntled politicians who, one way or the other, didn't probably get an appointment under the Tinubu administration and are bitter about it, as such push to join this coalition that is doomed to fail because of the self-serving motives of most or majority of the people who are running or jumping ship to join the coalition. It is not with a sincere motive to rescue Nigerians from anything.
All right.
They are basically just disgruntled, and then I see a group of people who lost out and are bitter about it. They are not sportsmanly enough to exhibit the spirit of sportsmanship and wait until after the 4-year tenure of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then they can begin to. You see, it's high time we started, being patriotic to move this nation forward. Advanced countries like the America, once elections are over, they, put their differences aside and constructively engage the government to advance the cause of the entire nation, especially on issues that borders on the very core values of the principle of their existence. Like the insecurity that is bedeviling Nigerians today should be the concern of all.
All right.
But I find it very, very ridiculous when politicians just quickly weaponize situations like insecurity to undermine government at either state level or federal level for cheap political
it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, comrade, what the thin line is between constructive criticism and losing touch with the opposition required by the incumbent to also be able to remain accountable to the people that voted them to power. Because you see what's happening with the APC now. We've seen a lot of endorsement from the governors, from even governors outside of the party, and some section of the country are concerned that is this administration having the required criticism it needs to keep it on its toes. But you've also strongly condemned corruption in the National Assembly, and I was hoping we can quickly touch on that, especially around constituency projects. You've always had your eyes on the Senate. What first-hand knowledge or evidence do you have in this regard to support these claims that you have made?
Well, from my experience as the former chairman governing board of the Project Development Institute, I came to know that most of these agencies serve as the conduit pipe for fleecing public funds, shortchanging government and even the citizens. Of course, you know that these agencies are set up to carry out specific tasks. Most of them are derailed from their core mandates. You see all kinds of frivolous projects being inserted ostensibly by some members of the National Assembly. Like while I was in Proda, you see some community town hall meetings that are unconnected with this technological and scientific advancement of Nigeria, which form the core of the establishment of the Proda, Project Development Institute, So because of that, most of the agencies have lost focus. And once a government initiates policy, no matter how beautiful and laudable these policies are, they are meant to be implemented by the agencies. It is basically the agencies that interface with the society, with the environment. So if the agencies keep sabotaging the government, then there will be economic leakages.
I'm just a little bit curious,
these
comrade.
policies will not stand.
I am curious, comrade.
Assembly,
if you give me a minute to butt in,
it was mentioned that National Assembly members,
comrade, are there lawmakers within your party, the APC, who are part of this abuse, or is your criticism only directed at the opposition?
No, it is not directed at the opposition. It's directed at most members of the National Assembly. They know it. When I was the board chairman, they invited me severally to their committees, and I was bold enough to state what was happening in the country. Some of the National Assembly members connive with these director generals, some by even intimidation. Some of the director generals who want to, stand their way, they even go the length of threatening them for a zero budget allocation to their agencies. It happened in Proda. We have evidence to some of these things. There was a situation where a sitting House of Rep member wrote to the Director General of the Institute to pay his contractor for that, citing his contractor has completed his job for a contract that was yet to be awarded. He made this a request around the month of August. We have a copy of the letter. Whereas the Procurement Planning Committee was inaugurated in the month of November, and that counter award was given in December. So you can imagine, there are no checks and balances in the system. When recently it was said that the House of Rep members were getting as much as 1 billion naira. These are funds that were saved from the subsidy removal. Now, if Nigerians are told to be patient, it is because they also been promised that this money that have been saved from this subsidy removal is going to be channeled towards their well-being. It was going to be channeled towards the infrastructural development and advancement of this country. And then these monies are given to federal lawmakers.
All right.
To bring about, to cushion the effects of this policy, these policies at the grassroots. And yet, nothing is seen or found anywhere. And from Benue South, no House of Rep member can boast of implementing projects to the tune of 200 million. They can't show us anywhere.
Comrade Onjeh.
And we're talking about 1 billion here.
Comrade.
And we also learned that the senators also were allocated projects for 2 billion.
Comrade,
we can't see it anywhere.
Comrade, we have completely run out of time. It's a very passionate position you are taking. I'm hoping that one day you too will become senator and you'll return on this show and we'll be able to also probe what you're able to do with all this constituency project. But this is a developing story, and I'm sure that we'll find time to continue this conversation subsequently. Comrade Daniel Onjeh is a former NANS president, a two-time senatorial candidate. And thank you so much for talking to us on Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being a part of the show today. You can watch it again at midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.